Hello, BusinessStreetOnline.com and BusinessStreet.tv. My name is Lance Cardoza, the publisher of Business Street, and I'm sitting with the president of the Fresno Grizzlies, Chris Cummings.
Hi, how are you?
Chris, thank you for having us come down and talk to you. I know there's been a lot of news about the Fresno Grizzlies, and we love our team, and we'd like to hear from the horse's mouth, if you will.
I'm glad you're referring to that end of the horse.
Yeah.
No, it's a pleasure being here.
Perfect.
I'm looking forward to this.
One of the things, the Fresno Baseball Club, there's been talk in the media about some of the ownership wanting to sell their shares in the Fresno Baseball Club. In talking to you off camera, that doesn't really concern you because of how this business works of minor league baseball.
Right, there are 16 teams in the Pacific Coast League, and in the period from the time we purchased the team back in 2005 until now, 13 of the 16 teams have had changes in ownership. So for us to have gone this long without changes in ownership is really an anomaly. Our owners are all getting to the point where they're thinking about retiring. Some of them have retired, and some of the ones who've retired as part of their estate planning have an interest in liquidating their assets. So it's not atypical, it's exactly what we expect.
To be a shareholder in a minor league baseball, it's a unique investment, wouldn't you say, as somebody that really believes and cares about baseball?
Well, it is, and most of the people who are in the ownership structure are avid baseball fans and have been historically, and it's a lot of fun being an owner of a baseball team. It's a fun asset to have, and it's interesting to see how the business works. And frankly, it works a lot differently than I would have suspected back in 2005 when we purchased the team.
To be a fan of minor league baseball and to come down and be a part of watching Fresno Grizzlies at this city-owned facility, Chukchansi Park, being owned by the city of Fresno, what do you think that experience is like? I don't think a lot of times people realize what a jewel we have for this minor league baseball team.
Well, in the entire state of California, there are only 2 AAA baseball teams. In the state of California, there are, I believe, about 10 or 11 total baseball teams. Fresno is one of 2 cities in the state that has the ability to have AAA baseball, and we're the only one to have the affiliation with the San Francisco Giants, who happened to win the World Series last year, in case you haven't heard.
And that has contributed to a surge, I think, in Grizzly fans, or at least would hope that surge has brought some fans out because of their love of their San Francisco Giants.
We saw an increase in season tickets and an increase in attendance in 2011 after the 2010 World Series win. And we're seeing the same thing happening this year. We're significantly higher than we were last year in attendance, and we're higher than we were last year in season ticket sales.
In 2009, the Fresno Baseball Club had gone to the city of Fresno about a lease modification, and the city had granted that to the Fresno Grizzlies. Do you see anything changing with that? Has that helped the ball club, the Fresno Ball Club?
Well, it certainly helped the ball club. It certainly hasn't eliminated the financial problems in its entirety, and at this point, it's really incumbent upon us to sell ourselves out of the situation that we're in right now. We're doing that through a number of mechanisms. First, thanks to the San Francisco Giants, we're now able to play off of the World Series win again. We're running a number of promotions that are really great promotions, and as you know, we had the World Series replica rings that we gave out last weekend. We have a large number of promotional items and promotional things that we're doing this year that should drive attendance.
Such as like the bobbleheads and so forth?
Such as the bobbleheads. And then one of the things that we're doing that's a little bit unique to the business, in the past we've brought retired baseball players, generally who are Hall of Fame players, in to do a meet and greet with our fans. And while we're still going to do that this year, we're changing tactics a little bit, and we're also going to try to attract different demographics. So we're doing a little bit more with our Christian nights, and we're doing a little bit more catering to the younger children. We have 4 Disney stars from different Disney TV shows who are going to be at the ballpark. And when we tried this last year, we ended up with longer lines for a picture with a Disney star than we had for any of our Hall of Fame baseball players. And it's a different demographic. So through a combination of efforts, our goal is to increase the attendance. Now, when you hear about the numbers that are associated with our deficit, it's easy to think that it's an insurmountable problem, but really, from a functional perspective, and to put it into perspective, if 15% of the population of the city of Fresno, not the metropolitan region, but the city of Fresno, went to one additional game this year, we would be in the black. So it's not an insurmountable problem. Our goal is to try to figure out how to attract those people to the ballpark while maintaining the interest of the people who are already here. And that's what's really driving our energies.
And I think with the promotional nights like we were talking about with the Young Teen Stars Disney and also Christian Night, it sounds like there's a surge towards to attract that family to come out and participate in a baseball game. And I've said a lot of times, as a business person, I sometimes can't tell you who's on the field playing. I'll catch a couple plays, but it's more important to be in the crew club, sitting with a business person, having a conversation, and having a nice, lighthearted meeting, and using this facility and the ball club to be able to do that is very important. So, and bring my family out and other families.
Absolutely, and then to increase the relevance of the ballpark even further, we're doing things like our farm grown program, where we've taken virtually all of the vegetation in the ballpark, which had been generic landscaping material that really had no relevance to the Fresno area, and we're beginning to replace that with different things that are relevant to the area. For example, all the vines that are around the ballpark that climb up the walls were regular creeping vines, and we're replacing those all with grapes, sort of to reflect what's happening in the valley. And the space behind the right field wall between the lower and the upper parking lots, we're going to be planting crops. In the space in dead center field behind the area where the stage is, we're partnering with the Essel High School to have a community garden put in. So with all of these things, we're in the greatest agricultural area in the world, and it just dawned on me a couple of years ago that we weren't dealing with that. We had felt sorry for ourselves that we didn't have the types of corporate partners that some of the other cities had, when in fact we're sitting in the middle of one of the most productive, vibrant, job-filled areas in the world.
Yeah, the agricultural community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we should be doing exactly what we're doing now and going out to reach out to them. We want to start teaching people of the area, many of whom are as unknowledgeable as I was about agriculture, what the impacts of the things are that are happening in the ag field, like high-speed rail, water allocations, the endangered species that are up in the a little bit farther to the north of us.
And does that come into play with the farm-grown forums that the ball club is putting on?
On Friday nights from now until the end of the season, each Friday night we're going to have a farm forum. And we're going to have either politicians, water board people, or people who are of interest particularly to the ag community, but also to everybody who wants to find out what's actually happening in the area. We're going to have them up in the crew club before the games, and then during the games, we're asking our guests and our speakers to stick around and respond to questions on a more informal basis. And to do that, or in doing that, we're hoping that we're going to make the crew club a lot more relevant to the community and more of a place for people to go.
Perfect. And a business person that's probably coming down to hear the forum would have the opportunity, like myself and others, to recognize what a great facility it is to conduct your meetings before a game and then entertain your clients at a game.
We hear a lot of comments from people who, and it's not from people who typically come here, it's generally from people who never come to the ballpark, about safety issues. And let me tell you, there are no safety issues down here to speak of. Now, occasionally there may be a minor thing that happens, but this area is one of the safest areas in the city. You don't have to worry when you come down here. There's plenty of police presence, and frankly, most of the people who are engaging in criminal activities are going up to the mall areas, and they're focusing up there and not down here because it's a little bit easier to deal with things up there.
Yeah. Perfect. If you just joined us here at BusinessStreetOnline.com and BusinessStreet.tv, my name is Lance Cardoza with Business Street, and I'm joined by the president of the Fresno Grizzlies, Chris Cummings, and we're talking about the state of the Fresno Grizzlies. Don't go away. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with the conclusion of the interview with our president of the Fresno Grizzlies. Thanks for being here, Chris. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us here at BusinessStreetOnline.com and BusinessStreet.tv for the second part of our interview with the president of the Fresno Grizzlies, Chris Cummings. Chris, we talked a little bit about community outreach and what it's going to take to put Fresno Grizzlies in the black column, to make a win for the Fresno Grizzlies and grow the organization. 15% of the main metropolitan area of Fresno came out and enjoyed one more game. End result would put yourself in the black. But also there's those outlining communities, and I'm sure the Grizzlies have a focus to reach to those people. Tell me about some programs that you've been doing to do that.
Well, probably the largest program that focuses on those areas is our Wild About Reading program. And in this program, we have our mascot, Parker, and hopefully everybody recognizes who Parker is.
Yeah, he's a big yellow guy.
He's a big yellow guy. He's a bear, and he has an ability to make kids smile, and he's one of the things that we're really proud of in the baseball team. And he's probably one of the biggest assets that we have as a company. Well, Parker goes out from January through March and visits schools, and last year he visited 240 schools. In each school he had at least one school assembly where all the kids in the school go in and Parker does a little skit. This year we're focusing the skit on farming, and Parker goes to the farm so that we could continue the farm-grown theme. But one of the things that he does is challenge all of these students to reach certain reading goals. And if students read 10 books and have them verified by their teachers, they mark them on a bookmark, send them down to us. We'll send back tickets for each one of those children. And that's 100,000 students that we're reaching that way.
Wow.
Some of whom are in Fresno, but many of whom are in the more outlying regions.
And then they can bring their family down, possibly to experience a Grizzlies game for the first time.
Absolutely. And on days when we have the redemption on Wild About Reading, that's when you see a large number of kids in the stands, and that to me is one of the most exciting days. These are the most exciting days that we have, because part of the name of the game for us is to provide safe, friendly, family entertainment where it's even unlike the movies, where you can go to a movie and even if you're in a PG movie, there are certain things that happen in that movie that you might not be wild about having your children see.
Yeah.
And at the ballpark, we try to avoid all of that. If we have unruly fans, we have plenty of security to come in and deal with them, and it's a beautiful, safe place to bring your children.
I love bringing my family. Like you say, Parker puts a smile on the face of the children. He does it for me too. I mean, we're always entertained to find out what's Parker up to next. It always keeps the game moving along for you. So you're not, if you're not a huge baseball fan, like I love football, but I come down here, I love the Grizzlies. My daughter is an avid fan, like I'm sure other families have their child that's a huge fan. And time goes by, you have a great time while you're down here. The food's great this year. Everything's really good about the game. Yeah, that's really good this year.
Now, one of the other things that we're doing that we've been doing the last few years is going out to different little leagues around the region, and we actually hold fundraisers for them where they'll go out and they'll sell tickets, and a portion of the ticket revenue stays with the team as a fundraiser. A portion of it comes to us to try to help us out. And we have many, many tens of thousands of students who come through the ballpark in that program. Those typically will happen on a Sunday in the afternoon games. And if you get here a few minutes before game time, you'll see the trail of Little Leaguers walking around the warning track at the ballpark. And again, that's another experience that I like to see, because it's giving these kids an idea of what could happen if the Cards move in the right direction for them.
For baseball. Going into talking about baseball, the roster in the past, a lot of people that haven't experienced or come down to a game or have realized from Brian Wilson from the Giants, Bumgarner, Lincecum, Posey, are all giants in baseball today
So to
that
speak.
came right from here.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think the number is that of the 25 players who are on the World Series roster, 17 of those players came through Fresno, or at least came to Fresno and played games in Fresno. Some of it was rehab and some of it was players going up through the system. But you really have the ability to see some great players here, and you really have the ability to see players who will be up in San Francisco. Last year at the end of April, there was a game in San Francisco where 5 of the starting players had started the year in Fresno, and by the end of April, they were all up on the field in San Francisco.
Wow.
It was just incredible. And this year we've got some amazing stars. We've got Kieschnick, who's back, who's an outfielder who was having a great year last year, was looking almost invincible in the league. He ended up suffering an injury and missed the rest of the season. The first couple of games this year, he's back again. He started off a little bit slow, but if you look at him now, he is a real powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I expect him to be up in San Francisco at some point. And of course, we have Brett Pill, who was up in San Francisco for a while last year, who's down here. He's going to go back up at some point. And Gary Brown, who's one of the top prospects, not only of the San Francisco Giants, but of all of baseball, who's playing in Fresno. We have a lot of talent on the team.
That's great. And one of the things that we'll get into a little more of the tougher questions as we talk about the Giants and we talk about Fresno Grizzlies. In media, they've questioned the future of the team Fresno Grizzlies and how that relationship would work with the San Francisco Giants. If anybody knows how that relationship's working, would be the president of the Fresno Grizzlies. How is that working, and how do you see that for the future?
Well, when I first became associated with the team, the relationship with the Giants was not perfect. There were a number of issues, and we focused a lot of our efforts in our first couple of years on improving that relationship. I think at this point we have a fantastic relationship with the San Francisco Giants, and we do everything that we can to help them. They do everything that they can to help us. I expect that relationship to certainly outlast me in this world.
Perfect. We talk about outlasting. They talk about, again, just media in general over the past year or two have taken shots at the Fresno Grizzlies. One of the things that they've talked about, will the team be able to survive? Are they for sale? And you touched on that in the beginning of the interview, talking about its investors, the turnover in minor league baseball, AAA baseball. It's a norm. It's actually, the investors have stayed a lot longer than normal.
Sure.
And some are retiring. So we've touched on that, but talk about, and we mentioned it before the interview, most businesses go into a business with an exit strategy or a plan. So I'm sure the Grizzlies might have something in the works for the future. Today, it sounds like it's a heading towards the black, making it solvable, making the plan be obtainable. Talk to me a little about that. Is the Grizzlies for sale? What would you say?
Clearly, if somebody comes along and makes a compelling offer for the Grizzlies, am I going to turn it down? Probably not. But it's not one of my overriding goals to sell the Grizzlies. Again, we're pretty happy and we're pretty comfortable with the things that we're doing now. Our goal is to show the city and the community progress next year as compared to where we were this year, and to show that we are going to be viable and that we are going to be moving into the future. I fully expect baseball to remain in Fresno forever, and I fully expect the Grizzlies to stay in Fresno forever. I know we only have 28 years left on our lease, but my hope is that once we get down toward the end of that period, whoever's operating the team, because I'll probably not be here, whoever's operating the team will be working with the city to renew the arrangement or do renovations to the ballpark, which will clearly be needed at that point, and have the team move on into the future. It's a beautiful area, and we have some of the best baseball fans in the country here.
Yeah, and they're diehard. They're diehard. They love their Grizzlies, and I think that relationship with the Giants cements that even more.
Absolutely.
It's like coming to the mini Pac Bell Park. You're right here in Fresno, and it just has that feel to it.
It does.
It does. What any of the things we talked on? Is there anything that we didn't cover that you feel either a fan or a supporter of the Grizzlies, anyone from the community that hasn't experienced coming to a Grizzlies game, or to anyone? Something you'd like to say?
And I'd just like to hit on maybe one or two more excuses that people use for not going to a Grizzlies game. And one of them is that it's too hot. And I'm the first to admit that we have some pretty warm weather in Fresno. However, we've played 12 games here so far this season, 1/6 of our season, and the weather has been absolutely breathtaking. It has not been hot, it hasn't been cold, it hasn't been wet. So there are some amazing days, and even in June, July, and August, we have days when the temperature in the ballpark is very comfortable. And even on the hottest of days, if you're in a shaded area in the ballpark, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
If you're a little bit on the warm side, we have misting stations so that you can cool yourself off. It's not an excuse.
And some of those people will go to the beach and lay on the beach
For hours at a time.
Hours at a time, but never complain about it.
Absolutely.
This way you get a baseball game with it.
Well, another issue that people bring up is that it's too expensive to go to a game. Well, if you come to the ballpark, say on a Tuesday, we have our 2 for Tuesday program that's going. You get 2 tickets for the price of 1. You get $2 hot dogs, $2 soft drinks, and really a family of 4 can come here and spend $30 or $40, have a couple of hot dogs, have some soft drink, enjoy the game, and that's so much less than you would pay if you went to a movie. It's not expensive. Now, if you come on a Friday night or a Saturday night, when there's huge demand and when there are major promotional items that are being given away, it is a little bit more expensive. But for people who are on a budget, who want good, clean, safe family entertainment, if you come on a Tuesday, it's very inexpensive. If you come on a Monday, we've got a beautiful package of things that you can do away from the ballpark on other days that mitigates the cost and makes it a very reasonably priced entertainment option.
I think that's all the time we have. I know we've talked about a bunch of topics. Chris, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out of your day to answer some of the hard questions and some of the things that every business person, no matter what business you're in, sometimes has to answer to the growth of their company. And if any of them has had to answer some hard questions, it's yourself and the Fresno Grizzlies. And I know it's tough with us in the media, but on the site of businessstreetonline.com and businessstreet.tv, it's a beautiful stadium. The city of Fresno has built an incredible stadium with the help of the Fresno Baseball Club and the Fresno Grizzlies being here to occupy this stadium and give this opportunity to a community of baseball fans, not only of the San Francisco Giants and having a taste of that by participating here at the Fresno Grizzlies. It's in our view that it's a blessing that we do have a minor league team, a AAA team such as the Fresno Grizzlies and the Fresno Baseball Club fighting this fight to get into the black and to be able to make this good for our city and also good for our community. So we continue to support Fresno Grizzlies.
Thank you very much.
And we'd like to get that information out to people to come down and enjoy a game and be a part of this beautiful stadium behind us and enjoy a Fresno Grizzlies game. I'm Lance Cardoza with the president of the Fresno Grizzlies, Chris Cummings. Thank you for joining us.